All right, we're live. So I just wanted to discuss some of the updates by Dr. Greer from recently. It's the the some of the whistleblowers who are defecting from the black sites that they've been working at. I know one of them has been there for like 29 years, and so I mean it's there's been a calling by Dr. Greer for ambassadors around the world and disclosure project activists to begin uh, you know spreading and sharing that this is about to happen. um, and I think it's very important because that kind of speaks directly to us and what we're doing. And so being that we're all ambassadors, it really is a huge priority for us, and it's our responsibility to make sure that that word gets out. So, in addition to what we'll discuss today, I believe it's very important to have it, you know, to discuss what that false narrative is to some of the people that you're communicating with. So, whether they're ready to hear it or not, I mean, most of the time we use discernment. I mean, we always do, but in this case, we should at least leave them with that. So, all right, moving on to the overview. Um, Presentation materials review process, integrity and representation. Please be sure to submit any templates that you plan on creating, such as pamphlets, brochures, cards, banners, etc., so that Raven can review them. Any work that's by the Disclosure Project that we create really needs to go through a review process, which is where Raven will take a look and see whether or not she approves of it. And so just out of respect for Dr. Greer and to maintain the integrity of the Disclosure Project, we ask that all members who plan on creating things to distribute to the public to at least send those. You can send them over to me, to Scott, and we'll get those to Raven. Code of conduct, I'm sure by now everyone has seen that. It was in the agenda file that I sent over. It's a good idea to read over it. It's a lot of common sense things, but it's definitely good for us all to be on the same page on that. Moving into the outlook and focus of our initiative, we ask all ambassadors to avoid discussing our own interests, our accomplishments, our experiences. Although, we do love discussing those things in this setting, it's best that we, for the sake of time, and to maintain the integrity of what we're doing, to just, focus on what we can do for others rather than discuss things about ourselves. The goal, obviously, is to educate the public first and foremost, but secondly, we want to encourage all the ambassadors around the world, to begin, taking up this responsibility. We know that not everyone will be able to conduct outreach, and there's a number of ways in which you can conduct some form of outreach. However, I've said before, there's at least one or two in every CE5 group, in our opinion, that would be willing and able to conduct some form of outreach in a proactive and innovative way. So it's very important that we encourage our fellow ambassadors. So the vision, by being proactive and selfless, we can effectively educate communities around the world. We can help raise collective consciousness and essentially bring us closer to universal peace and enlightenment. Responsibility, participation, contribution. I know I've discuss this, but it's just as much our responsibility as it is any elected official or public figure to educate the public on what's really going on. So we really need to take that to heart and, remember, even after we get off this meeting and, as we go throughout the month and throughout this new year, that what is it that we can do to uphold that responsibility? Our participation and contributions are not only required, specifically in this, group, but they're essential to the success of what we're doing. So it doesn't mean that you need to conduct an outreach every day. You don't have to speak at every meeting, and you don't have to post in our, daily in our chat. But we want to do what we can when we can, and we want to be as proactive as we can about it. Proactive, takeaways, manifestation. So we strive to be as proactive as possible. Our intent in this group is to be the largest group of proactive ambassadors around the world. So the ideas we share should be utilized by you. Everything that we discussed today and moving forward, those are things that you can take away and, kind of implement into the efforts that you conduct. And then furthermore, we want to share, each other's efforts. So, for example, in Japan, they're doing a wonderful job of, interacting with a lot of their, people in the public. And I think it would be wise of us to help share what they've done. And, whether you're in Germany, Austria, wherever, it's really helpful that we all help each other get the word out. So if you've got Facebook, there's hundreds of CE5 groups on there. You can help, with, of course, someone's permission, if you can share their work and say, hey, look what Japan's doing, look what they're doing in Austria. So moving into the team input, Frida, a member from Norway, she's done a wonderful job of creating a lot of the presentation and distribution materials that we're beginning to, start moving into the public. She's also made some YouTube shorts, brochures, flyers, banners, etc. Is there anything that you'd like to speak on, Frida? Any updates, or maybe they can contact you for more information?
Yes. So, first of all, if we do need to translate all these materials into different languages, German, Spanish, whatever. So for any of you who are native speakers other than English, please contact me, whether it be on Discord or Instagram. And contact me so we can talk out about the translation process. Spanish is already taken care of, as well as Norwegian. So you don't need to think about that. And as far as updates goes, I am in process of making more videos, and I have made additional brochures. And also I am in the beginning process of making like an outreach group in Norway. My group will have a meeting this coming week about contacting Norwegian podcasts, talking about the Disclosure Project and CE5, and most importantly about the Dr. Greer's upcoming news with the witnesses. So I'm hoping, I'm hoping I can get to some of the Norwegian podcast over here. I have some. I'm being optimistic about it. So yes, that's more or less it.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's a lot of great news. Whenever you go on the podcast, I'm sure you'll share that with your group, and hopefully everyone will be willing to help share that episode.
Yes, so I'm also in the process of recruiting people, but it's just the beginning process, so there's not much to go on of, but I have taken a lot of inspiration from this group, so I'm very grateful for everyone.
Awesome. Thank you, Frida. Scott, you recently had some efforts at your university that you also work at that I believe you were shared some or hosted some of the documentary films by Dr. Stephen Greer. Did you want to speak on that?
I mean, nothing new since I talked about it last time. I did basically about a 15-minute speech and then went into showing Unacknowledged. The speech was basically just kind of setting things up, a little bit of the history since World War II and whatnot. A lot of it was actually covered in the film, but let's see. So yeah, that was back in, I think, November. Also, I need to post a link, but um, right around the time of the congressional hearings in November, um, our school newspaper was doing an article on it, and it was about the same time I was doing that presentation. So they reached out and did an article, and I was able to um, promote Dr. Greer's work through that process as well. So I'll post a link to that article online. So, but that's about it from there.
Okay, great. Yeah, I just wanted to mention, even though this occurred like maybe a month ago, it's still, I believe, not too late that, especially with some newcomers, we can all share that work. But as a suggestion or recommendation, I think that it'd be wise that when we share the work of others, that we acknowledge the fact that we're ambassadors from around the world who are working together towards, you know, uh, raising the public's awareness on these things. And so um, we don't want at any point, I believe, to just see it as just we're working independently. Really, this is a collective effort. And when sharing that with the CE5 community, I think that, in numbers, it just means a lot more. So um, thank you, Scott. Elisa, you have some DPIA QR business code QR code business cards, excuse me, that you created. Did you want to speak on that? Oh no. Oh, there she is. Hey, Lisa, we just called on you. I realized you weren't in the meeting. What happened?
Hey, I had someone calling me. I'm so sorry. And she's probably gonna call me again. If I end up leaving, I guess it's an emergency, but so far she hasn't called me back. Um, hey everybody, what's going on? I'm over here in Colorado alongside with Ricky, and I believe there's someone else here too, right? Is it Alan?
Maybe.
Maybe or someone else. Well, I just want to say hi to everyone who's here and hello to everyone who I recognize. I definitely want to piggyback off of what Nate was saying earlier about, when we're going out and speaking about, everything going on, especially in terms of this whole drone situation, as we know, it is, I mean, it's insane. um, but not to just go out and to tell somebody it's a false flag and then walk away, because the person's just going to look at you and be like, okay, well, I don't know what that is. The who, the what, and the why is extremely important. And then along also redirecting them to the films, the archive, and actually more specifically the interviews that Greer has done in late December, and then even like most of them were in December, speaking about these insiders coming forward at these black sites. Because again, I mean, the best thing for us to do is to be on the sidelines of these men, of these, I mean, these fathers, whoever they are. They have families, they have children, they are risking absolutely everything. I mean, I could not imagine what they're feeling and what they're going through. It could be any day now that they come forward. And so again, we owe that to them, or at least I believe that we owe that to them, because no one else is doing this and they don't even have to do it. And so again, just making sure that and it is a tedious process, but that's part of the job, really just explaining to people what is going on. Because I even found myself doing that. I found myself just saying, it's a false flag, don't believe it, don't believe it. Well, psychologically, that's just gonna make a person not believe it. So really just redirecting them and really being what we are, ambassadors, being a teacher in a way, to this. um, so that's what I have on that. And then again, anyone who's new here, I have made these approved cards for the DPIA, Disclosure Intelligence Archive, just QR in the back, takes you straight to the website. Again, still a free website. Again, this is all selfless. This is all humble work. This is, and I do have a login to provide for that if anyone's interested. And this is just until we have I think what Nate was saying about the site until everything's kind of all together on the site with all the pieces that, brochures and whatnot that we've all made. And again, I know it's winter time. I know it's cold. It's harder to go out and do contacts. But I mean, hey, our planet's on a pinpoint right now. So, but anyway, happy to be here. Let's start off this new year right, and good intentions. And I'm really glad that we have new people here. So,
Awesome. Thank you, Elisa.
Thank you.
Zach, you've had a lot of recent efforts, and you also have some upcoming efforts. Did you want to speak on that?
Yeah, I could shoot them out real quick. Trying to stay busy even in the cold. It was a kind of a heightened demand to put a meeting together. So we had one last weekend in December and went well. But had a podcast interview 2 weeks ago, and went out on that's a paranormal network. So it's a couple tens of thousands worth of viewership kind of spread throughout their network. And I was able to get some good DPIA plugs in there and everything. Another person's putting together a piece as well that's been a little longer production, but I'm asking him to try to lead more of the disclosure narrative in that as well. And yeah, coming up, pushing a big 3-day expo in southern Wisconsin. It's all contact modalities. We'll booth there and looking at developing some additional disclosure presentation materials, probably a large vertical banner, maybe like a little smaller sub table on it. So I don't know what we've got out there for stock graphics or whatever, but we'll get something put together on it. And then I don't know who's in the kind of Midwest region, but looking for people that be willing to sit on the table as well as always open invite. I could probably have another speaking event in Eau Claire, Wisconsin, April as well. So multiple venues pushing the topic and are out there and leading people to the internet for their own viewing of everything they want to know. So that's what we got going on in Wisconsin. Thanks.
Awesome. Great work, Zach. Thank you. Renata, she's from the UK. In our last meeting, you discussed the possibility of Dr. Greer or setting up a TED Talk for Dr. Greer. Is there any information on that? Did you have any
Sorry.
updates?
Okay, now you can hear me. Sorry about that. Sorry, I had it switched off. So Linda advised that I needed to contact the actual university campuses where the TED Talks were held. So to introduce Dr. Stephen Greer in order to give possible presentation. So that's something that I have to do and approach. And so, for example, MIT or the other big colleges, I can't think, Yale, for example, places like that, because apparently they have the TED Talks at those venues. So I need to contact those places directly. So I started back up at the theatre company, and my contact for the printmaking is not there at the moment. She should be back this week, so I will approach her about making copying on a large scale Frida's beautiful brochures, but at a cost price. So I'm hoping to get that sorted out, because I've met Karen, who is going on the CE5 cruise, and she wants to get involved with me distributing those. And the other thing was that I finally met the legendary Willie Williams, who is responsible. He's been involved in the theatre company, and he is legendary for the lighting for the big rock bands and like U2, Elton John, etc., etc. And I met him at the Christmas party, and I explained about Dr. Stephen Greer's work, and I piqued his interest. I said, "Can you perhaps get some names together? Do you think about helping us put a concert together? And I think his eyes sort of went like, is she mad? And I said, no, I really mean this. And then he went to explain that Dr. Stephen Green intended for this to happen. So he's actually been given the films to look at, so, following on from Frida's brochures. And I'm hoping to get some feedback from him. See if he's got any sort of points of view or any comments to make. If you'd be interested to get involved, to help out in any way in the future for a future project. And do the exhibition. If anyone has any interesting names that I could write to for material, could you please let me have it? I'd be very grateful, because that's another thing that I'm thinking of putting together that might be very interesting in terms of getting the public attention and interest in ET, CE5 contact work, CE5 phenomena that it's experienced through the contact groups, and everything else that's involved with the project. So those are things that I'm going to be starting to fire up again now that it's the beginning of the new year. And yes, yeah. Spread the
Awesome.
word.
Thank you, Renata.
Great.
Yeah, if we could, any well-known figures that are maybe worth writing to, please provide those to Renata. And that
Yeah,
way
this is
she can.
specifically for material. Sorry to interject you there. This is specifically for material that's been captured, or artwork, or something that would the person who has the material is willing to publicize in an exhibition space, in an exhibition type space. But the venue is something that I'm hoping, I'm just wondering whether I should wait for the April cruise in order to see whether there are any contacts that I can make there who might be able to help us to make this possible, because I don't want we could start small, but I kind of think of top down. So I'm thinking like start big, and if you can't find big, then go work your way down. So to get the maximum impact. So but I think maybe Raven might know why I'm thinking about this, because I've been sworn to secrecy, so I can't explain it over here without having the person's consent, and I haven't been able to speak to him because he's in Brazil at the moment. So otherwise, I'm happy to share that in the next meeting that we have. But there's a reason that could be mapped or matched to this other project, and I want it to have the maximum impact. So if anyone has any gallery dealers or knows anyone who has a big gallery space in America or something like that, please let me know as well.
Okay.
I did comment on the last Zoom talk that we had, that I'd sent a letter, recorded delivery, to the boss at the Kennedy Space Center, and it was returned. And it had been opened, and I was quite curious about that. I didn't get a response, but it had been opened and sent back.
Well,
Interesting. Thank you, Renata.
Yes.
So I'm looking to help share any of the photos or videos, kind of like I've suggested that we all do. So any upcoming events that you may have, feel free to share them with me, so that way I can help share with all the CE5 community. Because ideally what I'd like to begin doing is to literally post on every CE5 group page so that they can see what we're all doing together. I'm also reaching out to CE5 ambassadors and groups online to see if they're interested and willing to join. As you guys may have noticed, I believe we have about 20 new members since I really started diving into that. I've known only about a third of us showed up today. However, as we grow, we can probably assume that it'll always be about a third or 2/3. We'll never have everyone here, especially with the different time zones. But that's something that we're doing, and feel free to help do that. If you know anyone who may be interested in participating and contributing to what we're doing, feel free to reach out to them and you know get them in contact with us, and we can get them and we can all put our ideas together. So our most recent conference event, is going to be a YouTube video. We're not going to air that because during the meeting, there was some kind of electronic interference that started like playing this loud sound. And it wasn't like your typical mic near the speaker sound. I think it was music. And then also there's some camera quality issues. But we're going to reschedule another event, hopefully early spring, late, winter, and we'll go from there, and we'll post that. We'll post that once we get there. So we're actively searching for a podcast. So if at any point, I know some of you have some upcoming podcasts, if you'd like to have me and vice versa, I know that there's a podcast that we're going to do with Gracie that I'm looking to have a couple people on with me, or at least one other. So let's coordinate that if you have anything in the pipeline, and I'll do the same. So at this point, if you have any additional actionable ideas, updates, or questions, please feel free to share now.
If I may jump in. I was wondering if anyone has any experience in how to approach podcast in terms of talking about this topic, like how should I formulate the letter or phone call, or
I can help you, Frida. I can help you write it
yeah, all right,
if you want me to.
yeah, sure. So also, in terms of the approved printable material, it is available on Discord. I have also posted a link on the Zoom chat, so you can just download everything. So
Can I just mention something here, because it's just come up? I have a friend who's a cosmic homeopath, and he's just had an interview on a podcast, so I can contact him for you and see if I can get the details of the person who interviewed him, because I'm sure he'd be interested. And I could pass it on to you as well.
lovely, thank you.
Awesome, thanks, guys. I'm sorry, I forgot how to pronounce your name, but I see you have your hand raised. Go ahead.
It's Yosu.
Yosu. Okay.
Yeah, well, I'm from Mexico, so the idea that I have is that one of my Buddhist teachers knows the daughter of a famous actor from Mexico. Her name is Aislinn Derbez, and she has a podcast. And probably I can contact her. I can probably contact her, and maybe there will be a chance to have an interview or something like that, yeah, with her. And also maybe possibly with her father, the famous actor. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, that's wonderful.
And another idea, maybe like the QR code. How do you say it? The QR code, like the thing you
Business
talk
cards?
about? Yeah, the cards. Mm-hmm. It may be a good idea also to like direct people through the QR code to the Dr. Greer's website, because I think it may be to some people a bit like strange or not so, I don't know if it's the right word, like welcoming, just to like go directly to the website and to the DPI website DPI archive DPI archive website, and maybe if they go to the Dr. Greer's website, they will like have a greater perspective on all of his work. But it's just an idea, yeah, a personal idea. Mm-hmm.
You know, that's great. You know, we've developed an application, you know, that people can download on their iPhones or Androids that has a function where we can go directly to the DPIA and, you know, some of the other relevant and what I believe will be approved by Raven, you know, places to learn more, books, etc. You know, but Alex isn't on today, so we don't get a chance to review that. Hopefully in the next meeting we can. But I agree, you know, being able to access those websites and some, you know, the materials directly is definitely a must have. So
yeah, all the new printable materials have links to Dr. Greer's official websites, YouTube, all the different sites for Greer. So it's this basically already handled.
Okay. Awesome.
Awesome. Thank you. If anybody else has anything they'd wish to share at this point, please feel free to do so. Or, if not, we're going to move into some of the key points, kind of ending the meeting. Okay. So some key points, obviously, is, you know, discernment, success, proactivity, strength, and future. So discernment is key. We must find what our listener is most comfortable and engaged with. And from there, if we can, help connect the dots. You know, we kind of touched on this a little earlier. As most of us know, you can't just go in and say, you know, oh, I know how to contact extraterrestrial intelligence. That's not going to work. I mean, you got to be able to get a feel for what, you know, you can discuss with them. And, you know, some people are more inclined to discussions about energy, whereas others may be more inclined to discussions about consciousness. Remember, even if only one person looks into what you've shared with them during your outreach effort, you can consider your efforts a success. You know, that's our opinion and our outlook on this. You know, when we set up in 2014, and, you know, it was a relatively high traffic area by the university that we lived by. You know, there was probably 50 people, you know, that stopped by, whereas, you know, and there was probably 1,000 that passed us. And so, and you'll be surprised, people are more receptive and inclined to listen to this information than you would think, if it's in a setting that's kind of organized and you have something to hand out. Which, by the way, I want to touch on that real quick. We don't sell anything, absolutely anything, you know, and if you're affiliated or working with us in this, we ask that you don't sell, you know, anything that's, you know, at all. You know, if you have your own things on the side, that's fine, but we don't want to sell the work of someone else, like Dr. Beer's work. And it's just unethical. Okay, moving on. Let's be proactive and educate our communities and help our fellow ambassadors share their work. I mean, I've touched on that as well. That there's a you know, a huge need for that, for us to support each other and share what we're doing. But we got to do it in the right way, and we got to let the other ambassadors in the CE5 community or contact community know what we're doing, and then hope that, you know, or even ask if they'd like to join. Although many ambassadors conduct efforts to raise awareness, few come together in such a large scale, proactive, strategic, and organized way. You know, a lot of us help to raise awareness by sharing things online, and this is a discussion I've had many times. In our opinion, you know, I mean, it's really a fact that there are algorithms online, whether it be social media, YouTube. If you don't ever like, let's say, pro fishing, you're unlikely to see that in your feed. The same is true if you don't like, let's say, makeup tutorials. You're not going to see that. And the same is true for contact and disclosure information. So what's happening right now is a lot of us online are, putting forth efforts, which are, in my opinion, they're essential. But what's happening is we're really just liking, commenting, and sharing things that we all already know to be true and agree with. And so it's really not reaching the general public who's mostly unaware, even though they're becoming more aware at this time. So that's why we believe there's a need for us to go beyond the algorithm and conduct efforts offline. That's not to say that we should discontinue any efforts we conduct online, but I think that in combination it may be more effective. So together we will continue to combine our ideas, share each other's efforts, while confidently knowing there is strength in numbers. Here's a key point that we've talked about. If full disclosure were to occur tomorrow, there would be a greater need for people like us to step up and bring the public up to speed. This means it would be wise for us to establish ourselves beforehand in our communities, so that we're prepared for this in the future. Here's just an affirmation I put at the end. We will continue to grow, encourage our fellow ambassadors, and educate the public. I put the schedule on here. Probably could have removed it, but we're looking to have CE5 at the Four Corners region. I know that that's pretty far for some of our members, but as we get closer to the end of spring or summer, that's when that will occur. The same for the event that's going to occur in Roswell. And then we've already discussed the YouTube conference video. So our next progress meeting is going to be next weekend on Sunday at 5 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, and that's going to be for the United States and South America. Although we have the timelines, two different timelines for meetings. Any member is welcome to join any meeting. So,
is that the one with Japan?
I'm sorry?
Is that the meeting with Japan, or is that the one for the Western time?
So next week is Western, and the following would be Eastern. Yeah. So the meeting that happened with Japan happened, I think, a week or so ago, and I got to talk with Greg and Mark, and they're here today. Which, by the way, I am so sorry. Greg is with JCETI, and Mark is with CE5 or Tokyo ET Contact Group. And I know I mentioned that they've done a wonderful job, but I really suggest that we look into their work and see what they've done. And it's really admiring to see that they've been doing this for such a long time and have been so consistent. Also, we have Ricky here, who's a lot of people don't know this, and I don't typically talk about myself, but I want to give him a proper introduction. He is the first person I ever talked to. He was featured in the book Contact Countdown to Transformation, which came out in 2009 by Dr. Stephen Greer. And his number was on Facebook, and I was brave enough to call him when I was only like 17. And he's the first person I ever talked to. He's also in the movie series. I think he was I forgot the term here, but I think he helped to produce the film.
Yeah.
Producer.
And cast member.
Go ahead, Ricky.
I was a producer and cast member.
Producer and cast member.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for coming. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, you're welcome.
All right, with that, we can conclude the meeting. If you could, Raven, would you be able to stick around for another minute or two?
Yeah,
have someone
absolutely.
who has a question for you. Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you, guys.
So long.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
See you, everyone.
Bye. Bye.
Bye, everybody.